Hit it, Damon.
Bum, 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 bum. I don't remember any of the words. The obvious word. I mean, I remember the titular words. Rescue Rangers.
I remember the main part, but like you said, I remember the main part, but I'm not going to sing that.
Stop. You get where this is going. You've all heard a fucking song before.
Damon Xanthopoulos with our national anthem. Oh, say, you get the idea.
And so forth. Anyway, play the sport or whatever.
Welcome to Your Inner Child is an Idiot, the podcast where we look back on things from our childhood and see if they were any good to begin with. My name is DJ.
Hi, I'm Damon from earlier.
I should speak really fast, like a Chip and Dale. You get to speed up the recording so it sounds like I'm a chipmunk. What do you think?
Sounds great. I think that'll be great, and I will speak in my normal tone because I already stammer a lot, so just sound like Bob Newhart on speed. So I think it's just best if I just stay at this tempo.
We're just going to do some EQ settings and make you sound like the parents from Charlie Brown. It's going to go great. It's just a one-sided podcast.
Chipmunks and Charlie Brown. Perfect. Charlie Brown Sr., I assume.
Yeah, his does.
Or mother or something.
Please, my father was Charlie Brown. Call me Charles. I don't know what we're talking about.
This is all great.
Today we're talking about
and pertinent, I might add.
Chip and Dale's Rescue Rangers, the OG series from 1990 something to 1990 something.
Flawless.
I'm gonna say. I want to take a guess here.
I want to say 89.
Yeah, I think you might be right.
To like 92 or 3. Those shows don't produce new episodes for long.
They do a lot per season.
Right. They do 65 in the first season, 22, and then they're like, that should do them over.
We got
eventually they'll get on drugs and they won't be watching our cartoons no more.
Okay. You're absolutely right.
Got it in there at the end.
1989 to 1990.
Oh, wait.
Yeah.
That was a lot shorter than I expected.
It has 3 seasons.
Changing American politics for the better.
Yeah.
Such a short window for Chip and Dale.
Once Reagan was out of office, they're like, wait, that doesn't make sense. I got my presidents wrong.
Once H.W. Bush was in office.
Yeah. When the first Iraq War started, we were like, we can't do this.
Even better. It's crass. Having
Season
these chipmunks
1.
solving problems?
Season 1, 13 episodes.
Oh.
Okay, normal. A little bit short for an animated
it's like
series.
A normal show.
Season 2, 47 episodes. There we go.
There she is.
Season 3, 5 episodes?
Oh. Well, I remember that with when we were doing Tiny Toons, and it was like, Season 1 was 65 episodes, Season 2, 20 episodes, and then like Season 3 was like a smattering, like maybe not even double digits of episodes, just to like throw into the mix because, you watch them every day and you're like, I hope this is an episode I haven't seen. Little Damon talking. And it always is. But then you'd get that one new episode and you're like, I must be getting the fresh ones. Then you tune in on Tuesday and you're like, this is an episode I've seen again. And then you're like, wait, was that last episode just like one time when I just didn't, I had baseball practice or what other kids do for fun?
It's like the cartoon equivalent of the first one's free. They just, every once in a while, just give you a little bit of freshness.
The first 8 balls free and the first episode of Chip and Dale's Rescue Rangers is free.
That's just good business.
Get them hooked. Keep them.
So this was like the what was it? The second of the. We'll read about this and come back with more knowledge, but we're just going mostly by memory. Other than
that sounds like our MO. We're gonna come back to you with plenty of information that's factual.
We'll lightly Google this before we come back. But was this the second one after DuckTales where they started reusing characters from like classic Disney for their own series?
Yes. I was going to say, I thought you were just talking about Disney afternoons. Anyway, Gummy Bears was first. And then DuckTales was like, we're going to use old characters and sort of update them. And Chip and Dale's was sort of like, oh, we can keep this up. We talked a little bit about this on our Roger Rabbit episode, how Disney was just sort of like, we're going to sort of shift to TV now because there's no future for this animation going forward.
This is an interesting concept because they took characters like maybe this is from, I never noticed anything in the Disney comics of Rescue Rangers, but DuckTales was kind of based on the comics a little bit more. But this seems like, is it an original use of old characters? Like they took these characters like Chip and Dale in the old cartoons are just these rascally, they're almost like Bugs Bunny-ish kind of vibe where they just mess with Donald Duck or whoever and they're kind of rascals and they don't really talk that much. They kind of like they giggle a lot.
They sort of chip around and Dale was kind of stupid and Chip was kind of smart. But I don't even know if they even said words. I think they just sort of made that nattering sound of theirs. I don't even know if they actually bothered other characters because sometimes I get them confused with the Gophers from the Looney Tunes cartoons, which were sort of also canonically gay. Do you remember those Gophers?
Let's Shall. I do remember
yes,
Let's
those.
Shall.
I really loved those as a kid. Read into that what you like. I can't remember if these were like more hijinksy or they would just get into stupid situations like they found a giant nut and had to get it into their tree or whatever.
Well, you know how I hate to contradict you.
Go ahead.
I know for sure because the one Chip and Dale cartoon that I do remember is them fucking with Donald Duck.
Oh, okay.
And there's something with apples and they play this game where they say, Apple Core, who's your friend?
Oh.
And then he says like, me. And it always ends up with Donald Duck with a face full of apple somehow. Like, I don't know exactly what the game is, but it's always just them messing
Apple
with
Core, who's your friend?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah. Don't worry. We'll look that up too. This is a like sort of reboot of the characters. It's like a Magnum PI kind of thing, right? Like Chip is
like based on
Indiana Jones.
Mm-hmm. And Dale is like in Magnum PI's clothes. Yeah. And then they like solve little... It's almost like the Rescuers. It's somehow Disney ripping off themselves in that they solve like little, pint-sized mysteries. And, there's a mafia boss known as Fat Cat.
They got buddies.
Probably based off of what's his name from Daredevil.
Right. Based off Kingpin. They've got Monterey Jack. And I love a cheese pun.
Cheese addict,
Who's the Gadget? Or what is Gadget?
Mm-hmm. Tress MacNeille, voice of Babs Bunny as well. And various other things.
Voice of the kids in Temple of Doom.
Oh, right. Weirdly. That's right.
Weirdly.
Friend of the show, Tress MacNeille.
I didn't really think about it too hard at the time. Oh,
don't forget Zip.
No, he doesn't talk, right? He just kind of, he's the little bug.
No, he's just like a little fly. I don't think he actually, he just sort of buzzes around.
Yeah.
And aside from Fat Cat, is that everyone?
That's we've stretched the bounds of my memory of Rescue Rangers, and most of this is coming from
the movie that came.
The movie that just came out. Do you watch I watched the Disney Afternoon religiously, so I definitely
watched the hell out of it. By law, I was supposed to watch all of this. That was what Reagan imposed, and that's what we were going to do. And I really enjoyed it, and and I love the video game as well. They had a pretty good video game in the vein of DuckTales as well. Yeah, I like Chip and Dale's, but it's also one of those shows, I can't remember. We may have talked about He-Man as well, where I have no memories of it. I have better memories of it than He-Man, but I don't remember any specific episodes.
Yeah, I just remember I think at some point, it was like DuckTales, then this, and then Tailspin would come on after it. And I would always watch the beginning of Tailspin because I like the theme song, and then I would usually dip out because I never really connected with Tailspin as much.
Oh my God. I think actually we had the same childhood. I was the same way with Tailspin. I was like, whatever this is, I don't like it. I'll stay for your fun little theme song, but I'm out after this. I don't care for it. By that point, it got too far removed from what it was. I'm like, the characters from the Jungle Book are running a freight company? Like, what are you talking about?
It was at least partially because by this point, it was like 4 p.m., 4:30. I'm like, I gotta get ready for dinner. I've
got a lot of meetings and appointments.
What was I doing?
Various 9-year-olds have.
I got to go outside and kick something. I'm probably... What, do you have anything else that you want to get in before we watch Chip and Dale's Rescue Rangers?
You know what? I don't. I really don't. I know I'm supposed to, yes and you, but I just refuse. I just can't do it.
We're going to watch Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers, the original series. We're going to watch a smattering of episodes. We'll let you know what we watched because I don't know right now.
When we figure it out, we'll let you know.
We'll let you know. We'll be back after this. Hey, Damon. You know how
Yes.
You know how you have just like a mellifluous laugh?
Yeah, I've been told.
Sometimes I think to myself, how can I hear more of this? How can I get more Damon in my life? If you at home have that same thought, I want you to pop on over to patreon.com/YourIntroIsAnIdiot. You can sign up. You can get bonus episodes. We've done some live streams. We're going to do some more. You can't stop us.
We're not going to stop doing live streams suddenly.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that.
So that's the way to do it. We're going to add some new tiers coming up here. So check it out. And we'd love to have you there. Or not, just keep listening. If not, that's fine too.
Just before we go, though, professional recommendation. When you feel like I'm about to laugh at something, just pull the right mic out. Pull the right
that
earbud
volume down.
right
if
out.
You've got the things where it's got touch, or if you've got a fader, or if you've got a knob. Just crank it down a little bit.
Studio assistant running the whole thing from those big boards.
Just take that.
Play with those.
Just go ahead and jimmy that down a little bit. Great.
Jimmy it.
Perfect. This sounds so bad, mic technique wise.
Yeah. Well, what are you gonna do? I guess you could just ignore the constructive criticism, but you get the video now.
And we are back. We watched Chip and Dale's Rescue Rangers.
Mm-hmm.
We started with the first episode, Piracy Under the Sea. That'll make sense.
Which didn't
Don't
feel
worry.
like a first. Okay.
That'll make sense later, that title.
We also watched, what was it? The Case of the Cola Cult?
We watched, The Case of the Cola Cult, Double O Chipmunks.
Yeah. Zipper Come Home.
Yes.
And of course, what I wrote the title of Carol Channing ! But is actually called They Shoot Dogs, Don't They?
Yes. That title also will make sense, even though it's kind of a sad, especially because it's the end of the series.
It is weird that it's the end of the series. I always forget that these cartoon shows the idea was just to play them forever until someone didn't want to see them anymore. So they didn't really create like series finales. They're not supposed to be consumed that way.
They neither begin nor end.
They are just to be ad nauseum. I'm making the kid a sandwich and plopping him in front of a TV so I can just get some fucking peace and quiet for once.
I said, eat your celery sticks.
Quieter.
So this was after DuckTales, right?
I believe this was after DuckTales. I think it's Gummy Bears, DuckTales, and then, you get your Chippies and your Tailies, and then, some of the your Goof's Troop, your Dark's Wings Druck.
We got to cover Goof Troop at some point because that was a big one for me. This one was, I think maybe, I definitely watched probably every single episode of this growing up, but it was definitely more of a, it was on, and this is where the TV.
Well, I think we were also at that age where we would just watch what's on and declare it the greatest and then create podcasts about it 30 years after the fact.
We're going to be millionaires about this.
Whereas I feel like with Goof Troop, I feel like that was more contemporaneous with Animaniacs, in the early 90s. I remember having a weird animosity towards Goof Troop, and I really cannot place why.
Interesting.
I wanted Goofy to have a wife. Maybe that was it. I didn't like that she had been taken from him.
What about just any Disney couple just not being tragically torn asunder by death?
King Triton, where the fuck is your wife? Why is she not around? She probably died in childbirth. They had 8 kids together.
Maybe not everyone needs a partner, Damon. Maybe people can stand on their own.
Yeah, I guess maybe King Triton, he's a love him and leave him type guy. If I look like King Triton, I probably would be as well.
Yeah.
Broad chest, the size of 3 people. But I feel like we're getting off topic.
Or Chip and Dale, who are platonic partners, or they're brothers, or...
I believe the vibe I was getting is that they're both having sex with Gadget. That was the vibe I was picking up on, or at least would like to, if the option were to present itself. But then on the other hand, I got the vibe from Gadget that she was not interested in maybe men at all.
Yeah.
Am I just making... Gadget is canonically queer, is what I'm trying to say.
I would buy that, but I think she's canonically probably asexual since it's a children's show. But
stop ruining.
Before we get into anything, because this happens at the beginning of the episode. We got to talk about this theme song, which I'm sure we talked about in the intro. I don't remember, but the song fucking slaps. Same guy that wrote the DuckTales theme song.
Oh, you did some research. Who was it?
His name is Mike Muller, I think,
Richie
or Mike
Valens.
Mueller or Muller, depending on whether he's been charged with prosecuting a sitting precedent. And he also wrote some for legit pop songs and stuff too. I'm not looking at it right now, so I'm going to forget. The Chip and Dale's theme song was performed by the Jets, who you may know as from their hit song,
The New York Jets?
Crush on You. I've got a crush on you.
Uh-huh.
And they got, let's see, You Got It All. That's probably the main ones.
Those are the ones. Really banking on a third one coming in, really jogging my memory right at the end.
And also, Baby, we were born to run. No, that's
right.
That
And they
was
also sang Yesterday. A lot of people don't realize they helped Paul McCartney with some of the transitions in Yesterday.
Not the song Yesterday. They just probably sang Yesterday because they're still out there performing. So good for them.
It is a great theme song. It's a lot more passionate. I remember this is a case with a lot of Disney afternoon shows. Gummy Bears is also surprisingly passionate about what is a patently ridiculous premise.
There.
And this is like, they break the rules. It's like so earnest in the sort of little interstitial parts. I'm like, okay, it's about rodents who solve minor crimes. I don't really feel like you need to start crying in the middle of this song.
What also starts kind of ominous because it's like,
oh yeah,
and you're like, I can imagine, eating my pack of handy snacks being like, oh, what's going to happen? There's lightning at the beginning of this. But then don't worry, it turns major.
Car turning around, it does do a flip
There's
to the
no
major.
bed that gives you smell. It's a good song. I just want to say that.
It's on its face a great song.
I watched it every single episode. I didn't skip it. I did not skip intro because I did not want to.
That's a great reason to not do that. Do you want to give us a recap on our first episode, Piracy Under the Sea?
Piracy. Okay, so we're just right into it. So there is no establishing what's going on here. The Rescue Rangers they all live together in a tree dorm or something, and they're chiding Dale for being messy. He's the mischievous. He's the messy guy.
He's the Magnum PI of the group, so eventually he's messy.
And eventually he's chastened enough that he takes out the trash, and while doing so, he accidentally gets picked up by the garbage truck. The Rangers follow him, and they end up on a garbage barge where Chip and Dale are accidentally captured in a net, and they're dragged underwater. The other Rangers follow to rescue them. They encounter the Pirates, which are pirate rats. Mm-hmm. They live in a sunken ship at the bottom of the bay. There's a theory that
the Hudson Bay, from the vibe I got when they were on the barge, they looked back and the city looked, I don't know if the city is supposed to be New York City, but it looked remarkably like New York City from the Washington Bridge.
There's a theory, and I don't think this is confirmed because it's a cartoon and they just didn't get into it, but that it's San Francisco, that they're living, because I guess there are some shots of something that looks like the Golden Gate Bridge, and they live on this big bay. And it doesn't matter. No, they don't ever say.
All right.
But anyway, the Pirates live in a sunken ship guarding a treasure that their original captain told them to oversee, to guard for 200 years ago.
Put a pin in that. I'm going to draw a little pin in my note.
Little star by that one. Monterey Jack, one of our Rangers, poses as that long lost captain to rescue the team. After he's found out, the Rangers shoot a hole in the bottom of the boat so that the treasure can come out. Another pin in that one, and that lets the boat.
They don't shoot it at the bottom. I thought they released a trap door. Maybe it's not the bottom of the boat; it's the deck of the boat from where we're.
Right.
You know what? Just go ahead.
That's true. So, but in doing so, it lets the boat float upright in the top, and the pirates sail away.
Despite the fact that it is a sunken boat, which by definition wouldn't float because it has sunk. It flips upright, and everything's fine.
It's not just the capsizing that's a problem, everyone.
It's the hole in the hull that also can cause problems, as my friend Jack Dawson can tell you. I was also thrown off that the mice are now going to operate a human-sized vessel.
Yeah.
Right? This is a normal pirate ship, right?
It appears to be, yes. Although the scale kind of goes up and down with these folks, which
I find that to be true. That was one of my notes in a macro sense.
They do kind of immediately hit on that a little because they're riding their, what is it? Gadget has invented a little fan-powered roller skate. It's got a fan on the back and they're on the roller skate, which is already what size of skate and what size of fan and how big are they? And then they're driving around cars. So
this is the next episode, I believe. the cult episode.
No, it happens in this one because they're chasing after the garbage truck. And there's another one. There's another vehicle. And I want to talk about that in the second episode.
Right. Yes. That's still in the second. This is all at sea. The entire episode is at sea.
No, I'm telling you, the roller skate makes an appearance in this first one. Because I remember in the second one, she's like, we finally get to take this out for a test spin. And I was like, excuse me, point of order. I just watched an episode where you're driving this.
Okay, you're right. Actually, now I am remembering. Yes. When they were chasing Dale, who is in the garbage truck.
Yeah.
They're in that roller skate.
I actually the screen, talking to no one in particular.
I noticed that if Monterey Jack would have said that it's great that they took it out for a test dive, you wouldn't have questioned it. But when Gadget says it, you're immediately on her case about it.
It's not. I'm not so much a misogynist as in I hate whatever animal she is.
I believe we are dealing with 40% chipmunks, 40% mice, and the remaining 20% is a fly.
He's a fly. That's the weirdest fucking looking fly I've ever seen.
Zipper is and he also varies in scale. Sometimes it takes two hands for Monterey Jack to pick him up, and sometimes he can just like lift him up in his little paw.
You know what
it's
I do?
Fine.
Like, just to hit on, this is a bigger point. I don't want to spend too much time on it yet, but the Monterey Jack Zipper dynamic I do like. I think we didn't see, it's a thing, is they're buddies. And I appreciate that because he's the big one.
It does come into play in Zipper Come Home, and it's cute.
Okay, so
I wanted to note, though, just some random. I was surprised that there was an octopus in a bay just off of the coast of
squid.
Yeah, they said it was a squid, but drawn very octopus-like with a big bulbous head.
But he did have
a little beak.
He did have a beak, and he did have the extra tentacles that had.
He had 10 little feelers.
Yeah. Well, I didn't count the legs, so I don't know about the number. But you know how the squid have the two longer ones. This is now a science podcast. They're called the longer flappy bit ones.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. The longer bits on the cephalopods. Also, Tyler was thrown off by. He also asked what Zipper was because he watched Zipper eat a whole grape.
Yeah.
Again with the scale, he just turned to me and said, "That doesn't add up."
Yeah.
That actually, correction, that don't add up is what he said to me.
The thing is, we all know it's not important show, so just choose. Because you're pointing out, you're making a small reference to the fact that they're smaller than something else. They're driving around cars or whatever. That's what points out this sort of inconsistency. If you just didn't do that, or you just made them, then you're good. These are cartoons. We can kind of do it. But the sort of changing of it just gets a little bit confusing, not in a major way, but in a way that makes you go now just a second ago, that cherry tomato was this big. And then now you can put the whole thing in his mouth. Anyway, they're also cartoons, so they don't have to apply the laws of physics, but it's a little weird. Billy the Squid is the name of the squid or octopus.
It's a fine name for a squid. It's a fine name.
I like it.
Eventually, yeah. So, I also noted that R, I believe his name is R, is a proto-Pinky. One of the pirates very much looks, and it is stupid like a Pinky of And the Brain fame.
But his name is RV or something?
Is it RV? I didn't pick up what his name was.
Something like that. And then Jolly Roger is the...
Is that the beefcake?
It's the captain.
There's also a kind of beefy, also canonically gay pirate in the background where I was like, who's that guy? Why isn't he hanging out?
Why aren't we talking to him?
And then I was like, Damon, just pull yourself together.
It's been a minute, okay?
This garnered one laugh from me, one genuine laugh, which is when Monterey Jack comes in dressed as their erstwhile captain, and they find the one rat who actually presumably is 200 years old and served under this captain. And
the cabin boy.
He has the cabin boy, and he has a bad eye. And he says, well, the old captain used to have a certain squint in his eye. And so Monterey Jack starts squinting. There was another thing, and then Monterey Jack starts doing that. And he said, and he had one leg. And Monterey Jack lifts his right leg, and the cabin boy says, left.
The other one. I did like it. Long Lost Lafitte was the name of the, which is weird. If his name was Long Lost Lafitte originally, you might have seen this coming.
He wouldn't have been, Long Lost Lafitte, but now he's found? Is that what you're saying?
I'm just saying, if you're hello, my name's Long Lost Lafitte, I'm you're probably not going to be around for a while,
Right, you're probably going to love us and leave us. I was thrown off by the 200 years. I don't know why it had to be 200 years. It was very confusing. And why do they only gain new pirates by accidentally ensnaring people in their, garbage traps and then not letting them leave the pirate ship?
And they refined the treasure every week. I kind of liked the idea of that, but then it didn't really tie together with why they had to capture them. I don't know.
And then they seemed outrightly villainous. They were trying to kill the rescue rangers. But then at the end of the episode, once their ship is righted, everyone's happy about it and it's cool. I mean, that sounds like a children's show, in a nutshell, but it was still very jarring. I was like, they just tried to kill you.
Yeah. And they're
attempted
cool.
murder doesn't typically breed friendships, is what I'm saying.
Also, so at the end, they're letting the pirates go free, and they're like, "Hey, we'll see you later." And then they put Billy the Squid up. They tie him to the top of the mast.
They tie his legs to the mast.
And I looked at, just for fun, I looked up cruel and unusual punishment in the Geneva Convention, and no, I didn't. But that is awful. That's torturous.
Yeah, that was a bridge too far. If the pirates get off for murdering you, Billy the Squid certainly should,
he's doing a squid thing,
just a
or
minor,
octopus thing, or whatever.
Write up, at best. Put on a personal improvement plan, maybe, and then, move on. There's no reason to put him on top of a mast and let him die in the sun.
He's just going to crisp up. Also, Dale shoots garbage out of a cannon at the pirates. It's established when they meet the pirates that they're also messy. So Dale's like, I'll be right at home here.
Oh, yeah.
That was sort of a running gag, I guess. And then, so at the end, as they're floating away, they shoot garbage at the pirates. We never see the pirates' reaction to that other than getting hit with garbage. But Dale finds it very amusing. But I'm just kind of like, it's kind of a dick move, man.
It was an odd note to end on, especially after we just established that they were friends. Yeah.
That's
you
it.
Want to move on to Case of the Cola Cult? You want me to recap this, or you want to? You seem to have better notes than I.
I could try. Or do you want to?
I'll try it. You know what? Hey, I'll try it. They are, again, as DJ alluded to, they are on this roller skate automobile that Gadget is what have you, and they just accidentally get into a factory, a Cuckoo Cola bottling plant, and while they're there, they discover there is a cult based around Cuckoo Cola, all these mice in robes, and all they do is they watch old Cuckoo Cola commercials, and eventually they get fizzed, which is they usually stand under, soda apparatus, and the soda sprays down and dyes their clothes, either red, orange, or purple. Wild country. But then they find out they leave without issue, and
the people also disappear after their fizz sometimes, but not always.
Sometimes. Well, their belongings disappear.
But didn't that one old guy disappear? Because it was giving me Midsommar vibes. Because it was I thought the old guy not
the richest mouse in town
or something. I don't know.
No, they take money from him. They put his money in the 6-pack. Okay. And then they tip the 6-pack, and then they open the door that they've cut out of the can. There's nothing inside. And they're like, wow. And it's him giving up his earthly possessions for a more Cuckoo Cola-based enlightenment. Anyway, they meet the head of the cult, who seems fine, and his sidekick, Bubbles, who's this sort of ninja guy, and he has all these sort of ninja warriors with him. Not American Ninja Warrior.
The cult leader is Pop Top, is his name.
That's right.
Thank you very much.
But then Gadget gets sad for some reason about how her inventions always fall apart. She feels like she has no place in the Rescue Rangers anymore. Yep. Meanwhile, a guy they met in passing at the Cuckoo Cola cult, Marlon, is that right?
Byron.
Oh, I think it actually was Myron, because I think
Myron.
We had the same issue with understanding what it said. He said his name was. Myron comes back and he says, can't remember what, but while he's talking, Gadget's like, well, I guess this is goodbye, and she leaves.
You're like, he's setting up the plot over here.
Right.
If you
Do you want to just stay for a minute? She leaves. She gets swept into the Cuckoo Cola cult because she's sort of aimless now. And the Rescue Rangers go to save her, and they find out that Bubbles, the right-hand man, has been saving all this money that is supposedly getting fizzed away.
Yeah.
And he traps the remaining Rescue Rangers, as well as Pop Top, of course.
Not Crop Top. Believe it or not.
It's a different thing, not associated with sodas usually. And they're going to get fizzed, but then, I think Gadget realizes that Bubble had, sabotaged one of her inventions, and that's why it fell apart. And so she realizes she is a great inventor, and she saves the day.
Pretty much single-handedly
one of her
kicks his ass.
It's a very very woke, very SJW moment. Of course.
What is she? She's such a Mary Sue. Like she just
suddenly
comes
she can
in.
do everything.
All of a sudden, she's doing a bunch of inventions. Like, since when does Gadget do inventions? The best feature of this episode, though, is the repeated multiple times commercial. How's it go? Coca-Cola. There's
come along, sing along. It's the taste of Coca-Cola.
At one point, they say it's better than Pensacola, which I've never had Coca-Cola, but it's probably true.
Take that. I thought
How's the Gulf treating you, P-Town?
Checkmate. This was a weird episode in that I think the writing was more strong in this episode than before, but the animation was noticeably shittier.
It was way worse.
It was very choppy. There's a lot of repeated stuff. I mean, TV animation in the 80s was certainly not a golden age. They were cranking this shit out real quick. But people looked off model at times. Colors were wrong. Skin tones would change, or fur tones, I guess I should say, between shots. Yeah, it just kind of looked shittier. And what was weird about this is this probably, especially compared to the last episode, this is a lot more action-oriented episode where, people are crashing through things, devices are falling apart. Gadget's inventions are falling apart. People are, suctioning up walls. There were crowd scenes. And maybe that is what caused it to be sort of cranked out in this shitty manner.
We gotta get this out.
But it was sometimes rough to look at. And the scale was all over the place. They are in a cola bottling plant. And there's a scene where one of Gadget's inventions crashes through a box, when she's having her triumphant moment. And I was like, how big are the boxes or how big is this machine? Because it doesn't seem clear. Although I will say, I remember when I would watch Tiny Toons, you could sort of tell there were multiple animation teams because not in a bad way, but you could tell this Buster and Babs look in a specifically different model than the usual Buster and Babs. And then there was a third string Buster and Babs. The weird thing is I like one of the off models better than I would get excited when Buster and Babs looked kind of specifically, very specific in some episodes. I was like, they got the B team working today where they got the sort of weird foreheads. Yeah, I just wanted to say that this episode's animation, I think it's the worst of the 5 we watched in terms of animation. This is kind of rough to look at times.
Yeah, worse in animation, but maybe best in terms of the story and comedy, or at least I'd put it up there because we get some character development that doesn't matter later in the season, but we do get some character development for Gadget. She gets real crisis of confidence, and
although she should, her inventions, her shtick is her inventions suck all the time. They're always falling apart.
They're always falling apart. But we do get her catchphrase, which is "I can fix it," which she says every time something falls apart, which I like. And then,
golly. By the 5th episode, I was done with every line of hers beginning with golly. I do remember she had that catchphrase.
Well, also at some point, I can't remember what happens, but something happens to Zipper, and Monterey Jack is holding him, and he goes, "Squeak to me."
That is a moment when Zipper
talk.
is 2 hands.
Oh, buddy.
But it is cute. I like Zipper, even though I don't feel like flies don't have noses. Certainly don't have button noses.
I don't know what.
I'm trying to imagine what
a
scientifically accurate Zipper would look like, and it haunts me to my core.
Yeah.
Rubbing little hands together.
At least chipmunks and mice are cute, in real life. They don't look that much like
mammalian.
These. Yeah, maybe that's it. Maybe I'm biased towards mammals.
Plus, they got little thumbs because of rodents.
Also, the whole premise of the beginning is weird. Oh no, I'm thinking of the other episode. Never mind.
This is our first of 2 cult-centric episodes.
Yes,
that we got in this selection.
I think I'm thinking of the other one.
Somehow there are 2 cult episodes, but none of the episodes we picked semi-randomly have Fat Cat in them.
The main villain,
or that scientist guy who kind of looks like character actor Michael Jeter. But none of them are in it. It's just these random one-off, 2 of which have cults in it.
Yeah.
Were you
I don't know if we did a
surprised?
great job picking episodes. We looked at like a top episodes list.
We looked
and
at
picked
2 top 10 episodes and we
Yeah.
compared them and then picked the ones that appeared on both.
Yeah. So maybe that says something about your overarching villains.
True. But I do like the design of Fat Cat because he has his whiskers twisted into a Poirot-style mustache, which I think is
good.
clever. Were you surprised that Pop Top was not our villain and it was in fact his second in command?
No, because even when they kind of revealed the more disturbing, I mean, it's probably because, it's for kids, but like the cult isn't really that disturbing. Like, it's not good that they're like taking money, but the people are giving that money away. It's basically how a church functions, right? Is they're like,
no, cults are very different from churches.
Because they're like, here's this money. I'm sure you'll use this to feed the poor. And they're like, absolutely.
Oh, yeah. Once
no
we get St.
attention.
Peter's Basilica up and running, we're definitely going to feed the poor.
Yeah, pay no attention to the East Wing we just built.
Pay no attention to Joel Osteen's fucking house. Don't worry about that.
Different money. That was different money.
We cordoned it off. Someone donated and said, I want Joel Osteen to have a $2 million house.
This is the Damon Xanthopoulos, Joel Osteen's East Wing. Naming rights. That's important to you.
That's all I get. Because he's like a school, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was oddly pro-cult. I thought was weird. It was like, the cult's not the problem. It's the power struggle that's the problem within the cult. I'm like, I don't know, guys.
We want someone like kind of nice in charge of this cult. What?
I mean, the song's
slaps.
great and all, but we don't need to build a cult around it. Just watch a commercial.
Just watch it. That's kind of how it ends up, is they're like, the Pop Top comes back and they're like, he's like, well, I guess we don't need this cult anymore. And they're like, yeah, you can just hang out with these people. You don't need the cult. And he's like, yeah.
I have only one more note, and it was that when they capture Gadget after they realize that she's starting to pick up on the thing, they throw her in prison, but prison is also where they keep all the gold and jewels they've been stealing. Which seems like, I mean, if you got all this gold and jewels, at least like open a second crate as the jail. Don't put them in the same place.
Not your best work. The next episode that we watched was
this is 00 Chipmunk.
00 Chipmunks. We open, Dale is obsessed with watching Dirk Suave, 00 super spy, and his pretty racist stereotyped sidekick.
The whole thing, his whole body is racist, not just his ass. The whole character is racist. What was his name? That character's name?
I don't remember, and I'm sure I wouldn't want to say it because it's probably also racist.
He's a guy in a presumably Asian man in karate gi.
Yeah, speaking in like heavily accented.
Imagine what you think he sounds like, and that's exactly what he sounds like.
But Dale is obsessed with this. He wants to be a super spy. The gang kind of makes fun of him, and it hurts his feelings. And after hurting his feelings, they feel bad and set up a spy adventure for him. Dale eventually finds out that it's just a game, but at the same time, this real spy adventure is happening. And you get the microfilm canisters confused, and now he's like caught up in this real spy adventure, but he still thinks it's fake. Eventually, Dale gets a hold of a mind-controlled tank. He gets a hold of the helmet, and he uses it to defeat the evil spy and his rat gang, and they're arrested. So that's what happens. There's a lot of other backs and forths that happen, but that's basically what happens.
Tyler had one question about this one. Good sport that he is. He watched them with me. And he was confused as to why the U.S. government was building this item that can you can place on your head and it can control weaponry. Fine, bully, U.S. government. But it was sized perfectly for a mouse to wear? Why was that? Why wouldn't you build it for a human to wear?
I think, once again, we've got a problem of scale.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because the guy that's after it, who doesn't really have a name. He's just called the super spy, the actual evil spy guy. He's a human, or human-sized, weird-looking guy.
The Lex Luthor sort of guy?
Uh-huh.
Mr. Luthor. Yeah.
Yeah, he like captures a scientist or something and disguises himself like him. So he's got this kind of Albert Einstein-looking wig and mustache, but he's like this bald guy. And I don't think this is an important, because I kept trying to find who this villain was, and his name in the wiki is Super Spy. And
they kept referring to him as the spy.
Yeah.
And yeah, the spy rats who just sort of look like sort of mafia stereotypes. They
Well,
don't
and
look
apparently-
like spy stereotypes, which is weird.
There's a character later called Rat Capone that is in the same model as the main spy rat, but it's a different character or it's a different color or something. And so I think this was like they one off this and then kind of used that model later. But it doesn't
when
matter.
it works, it works,
Yeah, when you got something that great, you want to lean into it.
When you love something, don't let it go. Well, I did notice that, because he was mimicking Johnny Suave or what the fuck his name is. Zipper sort of dresses up in karate gi. And my note says, thank God Zipper doesn't talk.
Right.
I mean, I'm not a big spy movie person. And of course, like Johnny Suave or whatever the fuck his name is
Once
referencing.
again, Dirk Suave. Put some respect on it. Thank you.
I won't. I know what he's referencing, James Bond.
Yeah.
What is the Asian stereotype supposed to be referenced? Is that a
short
what
round?
Is that?
I don't know. No, I'm sure there's some racist shit in James Bond movies, or spy movies.
Oh, absolutely. Don't get me wrong, but it's usually not as hard focused as this specifically is, where is your hands tied in like adding an Asian stereotype, or is this just you were just taking a victory lap and threw this in there?
It was the 80s, man. They were coked up. They were like,
who cares? We got to get these R's and R's out. Okay. And also we get Gadget. She has to play the femme fatale in this.
Yes.
I feel like this was I feel like the spy spoof is a well-honed, subgenre. And this seemed to be not spy spoof. This was like government agencies, sure. But then there were just karate stuff. And then, femme fatale from like film noir stuff. And I was like, this is a mess.
It's all over the place.
Mess.
Yeah. I also really was upset in a unnecessarily intense way by the animation of the tank, because they made it so that like when it's being controlled, it has almost a face because it has like the nose, which is the gun, and then it's the windows.
Is the nose.
Yeah. And it flies and it's like reacting in its eyes, and I'm like, I don't like this.
When missiles are coming at it, it looks scared. Yeah.
I don't like that.
I'm a man of simple tastes. Sort of. And I did like it. I like it when things have faces, and I like it when things are scared. Fair. I like it when things that can't have fear have fear. I think it's funny.
I don't think that my distaste for it is necessarily, I wouldn't fight for it. You know what I mean? I don't think you're wrong for liking it, but I didn't like it. I did really, really enjoy the insurance jokes from the goons, from like the bands. I don't remember the first one, but the second one was, we're disappointed with the premiums on our long-term life annuity. And then the guy's like, why you?
They were sometimes forcibly dumb. And that line where they're like, we need to give the boss some insurance. And then they said something like, the boss sells insurance. I'm like, come on, this isn't a mistake anyone would make. But I did like an annuity joke. I love an annuity joke.
It's one of my favorites.
Otherwise, this sort of washed over me. It was pretty forgettable, which is odd because it's one of the few episodes that is directly referenced in the Chip and Dale's movie that came. Yeah. Don't say Chip and Dale's movie. That's starring Kumail Nanjiani, and it's on Hulu. I'm talking about the Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers movie, Disney Plus. And this is one of the specific episodes referenced, and I
think he gets a spinoff or something, Double O Dale or whatever.
Yeah, something like that.
I think it's really simply because you get to put Dale in a little tuxedo.
It is cute like when animals are wearing little coats. And Tyler was thrown off because he has a little collar and he has like cufflinks, but he is not wearing a shirt.
Right. Well, I thought his shirt like came off or something. Oh, yeah.
But he's not wearing a shirt, but he does have a collar and cuffs. And there's you can see there's a little attachment that goes into his little blazer, which was a surprising amount of detail for such B-grade animation. Although not as bad as last episode.
I'm good with this one. You want to move on?
Yeah, let's get out of here.
All right. Zipper come home. You got this one or you want me to?
Yeah, I mean, this is our second cult episode.
Yes.
Monterey Jack, who was making some sort of cheese-based cake, but not a cheesecake, to be clear. He wants Zipper out of there because it's supposed to be a surprise for the rest of the gang. But Zipper, through a lot of really forced circumstances, keeps ending up in the kitchen. And eventually, Monterey Jack shooes him away. And Zipper gets really sad and cries, which affected me in a way I did not expect. And he leaves. And by the way, it's been raining for 30 days in the city in which the Rescue Rangers do their business. I was like, that's too much rain for any place to sustain. Anyway, he leaves. He goes to the barfly where they eat old apples and fruits that have fermented, presumably. And then we find out he gets kidnapped by a group of
water beetles.
Natives. Water beetles, who are often referred to as natives. They have spears, and they want to sacrifice Zipper to their god, who we eventually find out in Act 3 is a giant frog. So they're feeding Zipper a bunch of food. We have more scale issues because he's eating grapes. Again, in 2 of the 5 episodes, he's eating whole grapes. There's a whole thing. I wrote they actually saved someone in this because there is a family of mice that get sucked into the sewer in a basket. We actually get to see the rescue rangers, formed a ranged rescue towards someone. Anyway, they save Zipper. Monterey Jack, feeling bad, dresses as a fly to attract the frog and save Zipper. And then the rescue rangers save him. And then the natives are killed. I don't know what happens.
Let's just call them water beetles.
Let's just keep saying that they're not natives and they're water beetles, even though they do have spears and they chuck them a few times.
Yeah, and they speak in kind of broken English. And
they drop their articles a lot.
It's
no A's and D's a lot.
Yeah. You can get away with a little bit more as animation because they're not supposed to, you know what I mean? In the Spy and Double O Chipmunks, like, they're humans. They're cartoons, but they're humans. So there's no, like, you can't get away with even less. But this was like, I guess you could just say, but it is clearly an analog for like the natives. And it's not great. The great green one is what they call the frog.
Right. And then the frog comes out, big frog. Yeah. You got a standard issue. I think legally you have to do it where a character with a long tongue gets the tongue wrapped around themselves. And that, of course, happens to Ribbit, who is the frog god of these water beetles. Yep. Oh my God. I feel like I've worked in all my notes into my recap. So what else you got?
This is probably the cutest Zipper is in the 5 episodes that we watched. He's, they've had some time to like dial in some of the cuteness of the animation. He speaks a lot more, which isn't necessarily needed, I don't think. He speaks, I think, a little too much in this because he kind of says words. Yeah.
It's usually like a pet voice that you would use with a cat or something. He sort of speaks in not full sentences, but...
Yeah. There's a moment where, because Monterey Jack asks him to guard the kitchen door, he's marching like a guard. He's got like, I think it's just like a sewing needle as like a rifle, and he's
I was thinking there's sewing needle or like a cocktail, one of those things.
Yeah, I think you might be right. That was pretty cute. And at one point...
And he has a little chef's hat, too.
Yeah.
Even though he's not allowed in the kitchen.
Yeah, that was weird. And then, so he's actually doing his best to keep the others out of the kitchen, and they're bound and determined to get in there. I don't know why. They're bored, I think is what it is.
They're bored because they've been inside all day.
And Gadget literally builds a motherfucking bomb and puts it on the kitchen door. Mm-hmm. And then they coax Zipper away. They don't want to hurt Zipper. They're just trying to get in. It's not locked, I don't think, but okay. And so why don't you just lure him away? Anyway, so they pull him over, but then he runs back right before, because the bomb doesn't go off right away because Gadget, oops.
She's not good at doing things.
And so the bomb, it doesn't really hurt Zipper, but it does throw him into the kitchen and kind of wreck
into
things.
The cake. Wrecks
and
the
into
cake.
the cake. Yeah. And that's what really pisses him off. But it's so funny because in defending him, Gadget comes in and goes like, if anything, it's our fault. It's like, yeah, it's your fault.
If anything.
If anything.
The audacity of this woman.
If this door blowing up is anyone's fault. If.
Who could say if this door wouldn't have blown up on its own?
The nature tends towards entropy. So who's to say?
We get a lot of Monterey Jack in this episode. And I don't know if you picked up on this, but Monterey Jack is Australian.
Yes.
So he was making a triple DK cheesecake.
There's what we all came for. Damon's Monterey Jack.
When he's buzzing as a fly, it's bees, It's all great. It's just a great show.
We get a good joke about it. Not good joke. A joke about it. They're flying above.
Being honest.
And Gadget says, smoke signals. And they're from Monty. And they're like, how can you tell? And she's like, oh, the smoke, they have an Australian accent.
That's great. I liked it in the 20s and I like it now.
I like that. That's funny. That's fine. Let's get out of here. You want to do last episode?
I certainly do. This is They Shoot Dogs, Don't They? Go. Take it away.
The Rangers get a letter from Kanina LaFleur.
Lafur.
Lafur.
Dogs have fur.
Because there's fur. She's an actress dog asking for help. Her stand-in, Jaja.
Jaja Labrador.
Jaja Labrador is trying to... That's a Jaja Gabor reference.
Thank you. I was having trouble placing... What Jajas do I know?
No, it's not Jaja Smith.
It's not Jaja Johansson.
So her stand-in, Jaja, is trying to murder her while they film a dog food commercial.
Yes.
In the country of Taxidermia, which is a place where all animal hunting is legal. And these hunting seasons are like an hour long, I guess.
Yeah, and they switch it all the time. And you knew it was going to be dogs eventually. Yeah. I was a little thrown off. Is Taxidermia supposed to be a country?
Well, they keep saying, I love this country. Or is it supposed to be a region,
like Appalachia?
That hunter, Yosemite Sam guy, keeps saying, I love this country. So, like, I don't know. I mean, he could be talking about this region of the country.
Where the fuck is Taxidermia supposed? Is that supposed to be a European country? Because it's full. Like, when they first said that she was working in Taxidermia, I thought it was like a Transylvania reference.
Right.
But then we get there and it's pure Florida. There's Everglades and a fucking redneck. Like almost Yosemite Sam. I was waiting for deliverance jokes the entire time. I don't think we got a clear one. To its credit, because that's some easy pickings right there. So yeah, I was a little confused if this was... I read it as a country when it's initially said in dialogue. Yeah. But once we got there, I was like, oh wait, is this supposed to be like Appalachia, like a region of the country?
They didn't have to fly
But I guess
there,
if he does say, I love this country. But they also swim back to Los Angeles. They swim, they boat back to Los Angeles. Yeah. Anyway, keep going.
The stand-in takes Kanina's place, pushes her and Monty from the plane as they're leaving the country and place, and it takes off headed back. And Kanina and Monty escape eventually they escape that crazy hunter coming after them. They come back and they expose Jaja at the Lassie Awards, and then I don't know, things go back to normal. And then they're like, "Series over, we're done." And we're like, "Okay." Do you want to just play all of those episodes again every single day of my life for like 4 or 5 years?
Yes, we do.
They're like, we made 65. That's the bare minimum you need for
rotation on a weekly basis.
And
call it a day.
We're out of here. We have moved on to Tailspin or whatever the fuck was next.
First off, I sat up straight, bolt upright when Kanina Lafur speaks, and it's very clearly Carol Channing.
Yes.
I also got a giggle when Jaja is pretending to be Kanina Lafur and does a passable Carol Channing accent.
It's not bad.
And this was probably the best episode that we watched. I was like, oh, but guys, this is your last episode and you finally figured out how to make these goddamn things. Why are you leaving now? It's an action-packed episode again, but also the animation is certainly an upgrade over the first few episodes we watched, which made me all the more annoyed at the case of the Cola Cult, because that is another action-packed episode that is not animated well. But like Kanina Lafur is very well drawn and expressed, and I also like that her dimensions are very dog-like. So when she is tap dancing, it's kind of awkward in I think a purposefully humorous way. Yeah. Also, Carol Channing seems to be giving it her all, surprisingly.
She's going for it. Yeah.
And she references some of the movies she's been in, which include Whatever Happened to Baby Great Dane is one of the movies. And I got a personal thrill out of Thoroughly Modern Collie, which is based on Thoroughly Modern Millie, a movie that Carol Channing is actually in. It was a lot of fun. I really liked this episode. I also liked every time she didn't get Monterey Jack's name incorrect. My favorite was Montague, is what she keeps calling him at one point. He hates her because apparently he references a previous case they had worked with her.
Yeah.
And I was like, ooh, well, maybe I want to go back and find that case. How deep of a cut is that? It's literally the episode before this one.
Oh. She got a 2-episode deal.
Yeah, I guess they were like, Carol, why don't you just stay for a minute? Yeah, A Chorus Crime is the episode right before this one. Maybe they intended to space that out a little bit better, but what are you going to do?
She also said she describes herself as a star of stage, screen, and occasional dog food commercials.
You got the feeling that it was more of the latter than any of the former. When Jaja is pretending to be her, she goes through all her clothes. And at one point, one of the brands is Poochie Gucci, which is Not even a
Excellent.
great attempt. You could have just called it Poochie, but
Yeah.
you went Poochie Gucci in case no
wanted
one
to make
picked
sure
up on what
you
it
got
was.
Yeah.
Still laugh because I'm an idiot. But yeah, I thought this was the best, even though I still am a little confused as to what taxidermy is supposed to be.
Yeah.
This was a pretty fun episode.
I also liked her song. I don't remember if it was the singing or if she was saying this, but she's like, I've got a bone to pick about the bones you pick for me. That's pretty fucking good.
Yeah.
I think maybe their wheelhouse, which they never really explored, was musical. This maybe Chip and Dale should be a musical. You got the badass theme song, you got the Coca-Cola commercial, you got this one. I'm like,
that's true, actually. You got a great point.
It's pretty badass.
What's weird is that I think of the 5 we got, this is the only one that's an actual case.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
Where they are hired to do a job.
It's for the way this is kind of set up, and I got this from descriptions I read, but not from the episodes we watched, was they're like cases that are too small for regular cops or detectives. That's what they'll pick up. So it's a lot of animal stuff. That all makes sense.
There's no case too big, no case too small. If you need help, just call Chip and Dale.
Chip and Dale.
Rescue Rangers.
They don't really establish that in canon in the first episode. They might in other episodes, but
I think we just got a weird selection this time where they all were one-off episodes, all seemingly where they had to separate one of the Rangers from the rest of the pack. Inexplicably, each one of our episodes deals with that.
Yeah.
Either Dale or Chip and Dale in the first one, then Gadget, then Zipper in one, Dale again and 00 Dale, and then Monterey Jack in this one.
When it's like the setup for it is a perfect formula. It's like, basically a cop show. Like there's a perfect case of the week kind of thing set up, but they don't really do that. It's actually really, this is one of my bigger points, is like, this is all very first draft feeling, because it's like this happened and then credits. And then we've got to wrap it up real quick and then credits. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, no bad ideas. Let's get that down and then we'll come back and we'll make sense out of it. Oh, we're done. We're moving on to a completely new show.
Yeah, it did feel like it just, nothing sort of blended into the next thing. Even one scene, I was like, wait, I think it was 00 Dale where, the spies' hangout is in this abandoned barn and eventually like Dale flies there. And I'm like, how the fuck did he figure this out? There's no connection to this barn. And then, Dale just says something in passing where he's like, good thing you were able to pick up their scent zipper. And I was like, fine. I guess usually that is one thing I complain about, that someone didn't include such a bullshit line like that. So I guess I'll allow it.
It feels like a little bit of a missed opportunity because like you can mock all the shows that are like that are very like case of the week, that are very, formulaic, while also doing it, while also using the formula to your advantage to do 65 episodes where you are kind of one-offs.
I think, though, that we just got a weird selection. But you think it's the larger problem? I think that we just got a weird collection of one-off episodes where it's like, oh, Dale's sad, let's go do something.
I'll tell you what I'm not going to do to figure that out, whether that's true or not. Watch more of this fucking show.
Truly. I don't even have a larger point to say about this show. If you've got something to say it now is all I'm saying.
Well, I think we've said all that we can say about the characters because they're pretty one-dimensional. I mean, Chip's
Chip's
the leader.
Anal retentive
he's
one.
Up top.
Dale's the slob.
Yeah.
Gadget's the lesbian.
I say up top. I said he's up top. Maybe. I don't know.
Chip's the top. Dale's the sloppy bottom. Gadget lesbian. Monterey Jack has a thing going with Zipper. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. I did like Zipper is supposed to be like the, the
she's got the speed, apparently, according to one episode.
Oh, yeah.
Plus, he's got a cute turtleneck.
Yes.
Why don't flies wear turtlenecks more often? Oh, because they don't wear clothes at all?
Because they don't have necks. Otherwise, they would, I'm sure.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
They have more of a thorax situation.
Yeah, if there was a turtle thorax, they'd be all about it. I mean, you want to go to verdicts? I mean, I don't think there's any bigger analysis to do here that we haven't already gotten to.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Come on.
Damon's Anthopoulos, what is your verdict?
This show was aggressively fine, I think. I think even as a kid, I recognized that Disney, you go for like quality animation, and Looney Tunes is where you go for jokes. Like I was rarely laughing like out loud at Disney stuff as I was like during Looney Tunes. And this is not a problem unique to Chippendale Rescue Rangers, but this is you can tell they were cranking this out as we talked about. One episode is very much below par, but even like the upstanding ones feel kind of quickly made, except for the last one, which I thought was like, if this was the quality level of the show, I'd probably be more into it. But every other episode just felt very pat, first drafty, like you said. Since we're a nostalgia-based podcast, then I would have to declare Your Inner Child is an idiot. This is a kind of forgettable show. And maybe we got a weird pick of the litter, but this largely is kind of a snooze in a lot of ways. I found myself, aside from the theme song, kind of glazing over at times, and my notes display that very well.
I agree with you 100%. If you had this show was near and dear to you, or for some reason, I think you're thinking of the theme song. Go back, absolutely revisit the theme song, because it's a bop, and then move on. There's just not really anything to see here. And I think if you're like, but Gadget, she was cool and smart, and it was a nice, like, you're misremembering. She is just not drawn out that well, and like you're putting cooler stuff onto her than what was in the show. But I think the idea is there, and it's like, right. This is actually one that I don't know if besides the movie that was kind of like a more of a send up than a real reboot or anything, that I actually would like to see rebooted, because I think they could do a really good job of sort of modernizing it. And actually, I don't know if they got somebody who gave a shit about it a little bit, like put some, because it does seem like it's not as bad animation wise as like He-Man, where they were like reusing stuff everywhere and it
Certainly
felt like a cash grab. This is still a cash grab, but like slightly better than that. But yeah, Your Inner Child is an idiot. Go grab the theme song on YouTube and that's it. Move on. And if you still want to dress up as one of the characters for Comic-Con or Halloween, that's great, but this is not a good show.
But wear pants is all I would say.
Please.
Because
don't Chippendale it that way.
We're at 1/5 of Rescue Rangers are wearing pants, and technically she's wearing a onesie.
Yeah.
So.
It's a good look, to be fair. I do think that
she's the best dressed of all the Rescue Rangers.
To give them some credit on the model, I think the model of the main characters is interesting. Like Zipper is cute, whether he represents a fly or whatever. He is cute. And, Chippendale, they made them, updated them from when they were in the old cartoons just by making them like Magnum P.I. and Indiana Jones. But still, they gave them separate looks, personalities. Monterey Jackson, interesting. He's like got a look. And Gadget's got the cool thing.
They've got the goggles. They've
got
various goggles and turtlenecks. A lot of turtlenecks going on. Zipper's got a turtleneck. Monterey Jack's got a turtleneck.
What do you think, everybody? Email us, yourinnerchildidiot@gmail.com. You can leave us a voicemail or text us 615-576-0525.
Oh, yeah. It's been a while.
It's
a beautiful song.
Okay.
Whoa.
I'm gonna start.
More people?
We do. I'm going to start so that you can read the second one.
Oh, no. I see.
We want to thank patrons of the show, including James Taylor.
Tommy Boy is my favorite movie.
That's great, but could you read the patrons?
That's great.
Ryan McWilley.
Lindsay Halik.
Beth Surmont.
Captain Jean-Luc Picard.
Caroline Amberson.
Demon's Australian accent.
Dan McIntyre.
David Mort.
Dr. Malcolm's Heaving Bosom.
Dramatically placed on dog.
Heather Tuggle.
His Honor the Mayor.
Jackson has an unhealthy obsession with Damon.
But can you read the patron's name? Jeremy Powlen.
Jonathon Day.
Josh Frigo.
Just Cuz.
Karen Kurd.
Larissa Maestro.
Lindsay Nell.
Particle Man.
Scalfasaurus.
Shit on the Cartouche.
T. Smith.
The Elusive Fan Gromkin.
The Hands of Fate.
The supreme ruler of this podcast.
The Zesty.
And Travis Vance. Thank you all very, very, very much. We really appreciate your support. If you want to support like them, patreon.com/yourinnerchildisanidiot. Damon's Anthropoulos.
Oh, yeah. It's one of those names that just really just fits into any song you want to. Also, don't call on Damon's Anthopoulos when
there's danger?
No, absolutely not.
Certainly not when
There
there's
are
danger.
jobs too small and especially jobs too big. I like that nice sweet spot on jobs.
There's a stranger right behind me? And you're telling me in song?
Please just get to the point already.
I think I said that wrong because there's a stranger out to find you. There's danger.
No, you're
lurks
getting into
behind
the
you.
DuckTales theme song. And
I know.
I think you know that. Oh,
I know. I was just moving on.
Oh, you're just ready to get away from Rescue Rangers.
Aren't we all?
What can you say?